Every single time you walk onto this train track, there's an issue. These tracks, as we were told by the MTA, have not been renovated in close to 100 years. And as they're repairing that infrastructure, there's a danger. I asked a few of you to feel the weight of this. Just a few days ago, a woman who lived her entire life in this neighborhood was almost hit by this metal flashlight. It landed right at her feet. A couple of more inches, and she could have been seriously hurt, or God help us, even worse.
The ongoing station repairs and track maintenance conducted by the Metropolitan Transit Authority on the NW Astoria elevated subway line are raising serious safety concerns after Astoria residents have reported debris and train equipment falling onto the street from the elevated tracks. On August 5th, Councilman Constantinides called on the MTA to install protective netting under all elevated NW tracks amid ongoing repair work to ensure that Astoria pedestrians are protected from any falling debris or train equipment while the repair works are taking place. Joined by representatives from the offices of State Senator Michael Genaris and Assemblymember Aravella Simotas, Mr. Constantinides, who represents Astoria within his 22nd district, spoke to the press at the corner of 31st Street and 23rd Avenue in Astoria, the site where an incident of a falling object from the tracks was recently reported. Holding a metal flashlight in his hand, he said that this object fell from the elevated tracks and almost struck a woman as she was crossing the street. Luckily, he said, the woman was not struck or hurt, but had she crossed a split second earlier, she would have been hit. We cannot take that risk, and our lives should not be put in danger, he stressed. The councilman said that he has received several complaints from Astoria residents of debris falling onto 31st Street, either from construction or daily track maintenance, and he has already reached out to the MTA and received assurances that they will look into the matter. Mr. Constantinides acknowledged that the repair work and maintenance of the elevated tracks of the NW line, which stretches from Ditmars Boulevard to Queensboro Plaza, is greatly needed and much appreciated. And although the MTA has installed protective netting under a few stations, it is imperative, he further stressed, that the netting is expanded to the entire line to avoid an unfortunate accident from the falling debris. Given the aging infrastructure of this line and the years of work still ahead to fix it, this is no-brainer, the councilman further stressed. MTA officials recently announced netting will be installed under NW tracks at the Queensboro Plaza and 39th Avenue stations. However, that leaves 2 miles of tracks still exposed all the way up to Astoria-Ditmars Boulevard station. Latest available statistics from 2018 show that each weekday, nearly 52,000 commuters on average went through the 5 stations which do not have protective netting, among them 36th Avenue, Broadway, 30th Avenue, Astoria Boulevard, and Astoria-Ditmars Boulevard. Costa, what are you holding?
You know, what I'm holding is a flashlight, and it fell from the train tracks right here at 31st Street and 23rd Avenue. There was during a routine train inspection, one of the workers accidentally fumbled it and dropped it, and it almost hit someone in the head.
You would think that when you have a track above ground, you would have some security for people who are walking below. I mean, I've been living in this neighborhood for, I don't want to say how many years, but many, many years. And I always look up, because I'm scared. And you see, so many years later, we hear an incident. I'm sure there were many other incidents that were not reported.
No, I mean, this is a scary thing. I mean, they're doing a lot of construction right now, right? Renovating track at almost every station. And I'm glad they're doing that work. But it leads to a higher probability of accidents, right? Things happen. And to say that we're not going to ensure people's safety just doesn't make any sense. They should extend the netting that they're already putting at Queensboro Plaza and 39th Avenue, all the way down to the entire line. Make sure that we're all safe. Make sure that as a community that we're not put at risk with something like this. It's very, very dangerous.
Is it an independent contractor who's doing the work, or is it actually the MTA?
In this instance, it was an MTA worker that dropped this. But there is construction going on at almost every station every weekend. And, that can lead to accidents, right? The more people up there, the more people working, the more people doing things on those tracks can lead to the potential for more accidents. And we've already seen something happen. We shouldn't take a second chance, a second chance to see, next time. No, there shouldn't be a next time. Put the netting, make sure people are safe. And this isn't an attack on the MTA's responsiveness. They got back to me right away, did an investigation, explained to us what happened. This isn't about their lack of responsiveness. This is about their potential for putting us at risk and saying that we should be safe all the time. This may be a rare occurrence, but it's an occurrence.
Right. Now, as far as the net, are they willing to install it?
We're making the ask today. We're saying that we can't play around here. This is, we're putting residents at risk. No one should feel unsafe walking around in their neighborhood. I've said this a couple of times, but getting milk shouldn't be a dangerous endeavor.
Of course, yes.
Whether you're in the street with a possibility of cars or now falling objects from the train tracks, you should be safe.
Yeah,
We're just crossing the street and you ever get a carton of milk on your way to Key Food.
Not only that, it's also dangerous for the cars that are driving below the train.
I mean, you felt it, right?
It's very heavy.
It's very heavy.
If it fell on her head, she would have probably had severe head injuries.
Yeah, if it hits a windshield, that car swerves, God knows what happens.
Yes.
I mean, there are so many bad possibilities here that we need to make sure that in the future we just take all of this off the table by installing the nets.
Now let's talk a little bit about new bills that you're working on, and also I know you proposed to the networks to ask the candidates, the Democratic candidates, about the environment, and we have seen that the environment has been a main issue during the debates. How do you feel about that?
I'm frustrated a little bit. I mean, it's been an issue, but not, at the first two debates, out of 4 hours, they only talked about climate for 15 minutes. And that's not a lot of time. I mean, the first debate only had 4 minutes. I mean, you can do a lot of things in 4 minutes, but not talk about a threat like climate change. So we've asked them to have a full debate on climate change, and when they do it, have it here in New York City.
Okay.
And not just in Manhattan, where the bright lights are, and where everything is fancy. Come here to Queens.
Yes.
Come here where we've been impacted. Come where people are getting sick from pollution from power plants. Come to neighborhoods that were ravished by Sandy. Come to the boroughs. Don't just go to Manhattan, and the only time that you're here in Queens when you get on and off an airplane. Stay in Queens, see what's going on, and answer some hard questions from the residents here who have seen, 18 people died in Queens and Brooklyn in Sandy. Acknowledge that.
Right. And also, many of these candidates who talk about climate change very passionately, they don't follow the basic rules. Like they use big cars. Myself, I'm using a smart car. I don't see them driving around with smart cars. So they should set the example, don't you think so?
I mean, look, we all have to do our part.
Yes.
That is so important. We all have to take responsibility for our own actions and do things that make sense. I've been working really hard on issues around climate because here in Queens we're going to be impacted by it. We're the largest borough.
And you move around by train, by the way. You don't have a big SUV driving you around.
No, I have no. I don't have a driver. No,
Yes.
I take the train to City Hall.
Yes.
When I go to City Hall, I'm on the train.
Yes.
And I love that because residents like your watchers can,
They see you. They tell me.
Yeah, I'm on the train. They talk to me. They tell me about potholes on their street or things going on. We're able to have conversation. And it's a green way of getting around. Are the trains always run on time? No. But I'm very happy, to be on the trains, with the people talking about things that matter.
And let me tell you about some feedback I've been getting from the residents of Astoria. They're very angry. And this has to do with low-income communities that we've been talking over and over again, or middle-income communities. All the buses, the MTA buses, are promoting the Museum of Sex. Why are they promoting the Museum of Sex in a community like Astoria, which is a family community? Can't you do something about it? They can promote something else, but not the Museum of Sex. I mean, that is a question that I've been getting from callers, and listeners, and viewers,
Right.
and they're very, very angry and very upset.
I can understand. I mean, look, the problem is that they pay the bills. All right, that's the thing, is that they're willing to pay for that advertisement, and the MTA is taking their money.
But put it on buses in Manhattan, not in suburban areas.
I hear what you're saying, and it makes a lot of sense. Look, it does. To have those advertisements there should be an entire evaluation of what advertisements we're taking and what we're not taking. And I'll absolutely speak with the MTA to see what their criteria is, and see if there's something that can be amended.
What else can you tell us as we conclude?
We have a lot of things going on this summer. We're going to start participatory budgeting in the fall. We're about a month away, and we'll have our meetings. And we just passed the city budget. A lot of big wins there that I've discussed with you already. So we're very excited about what we've been able to bring back to the district, and getting ready to start a new session of legislative in City Hall starting September 1st.
Thank you, and keep up the good work. Thank you.
Elena, thank you for all that you do always. I'm hoping you're having a good summer, and thank you for being a great voice in our great community. Thank you.